Okay, gentlemen, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. This lecture is in continuation of the lecture 6 uh, because we have covered that some portion of this and now it is a continuation of that particular lecture number 6, that is sixth week lecture. Okay, zone of protection. So, gentlemen, in that particular first part of this lecture, you have seen the operation of the impedance relay. In general, distance protection includes three steps of protection, with each step reaching a fixed preset distance and operating in a preset time. So traditionally, or you may say practically, these type of relays are being manufactured which provide protection into three zones. This is very important topic. Gentlemen, you look very clearly to this because your first introduction to these type of things. Zone number 1 reaches 80 to 90% of the protected line. Here at this particular zone, the tripping is instantaneous tripping when fault occurs. Within this 80 to 90% of the line, then of course we have instantaneous tripping. There is no delay in the tripping. Now, gentlemen, this is a general distribution, but it depends upon the factors or the observation of the protection engineer. Even in some cases, 75% line is set for first zone, and some 80% or even 70% sometime, depending upon the factors and of course the wisdom of that particular protection relay. Okay, zone number 2. Zone number 2 extends beyond the protected line up to 50% of the adjacent line. The tripping time has a time delay usually set to a value of 0.3 to 0.5 seconds. Here the tripping takes place between 0.3 to 0.5 seconds. Zone number 3 covers the protected line, the adjacent line up to 25% of the next to the adjacent line. Tripping is delayed between 0.6 to 1 second. Right. Now, gentlemen, see here all these bus bars. Let's say, for example, this bus bar, it may be one grid station or it may be a bus bar of any powerhouse or power station. Then this is feeding one grid station, let's say, and this is the termination of this line. And then from this grid station, we have a line extended to the net grid station. And then, of course, it is extended to the next station. So our whole system is, of course, basically constructed like this. So let's say, for example, we have a relay here. Just to see the cursor. Between this bus bar and this bus bar, this bus bar, this bus bar, and this bus bar, we have, these are two bus bars of, let's say, for example, grid station or substation. Now, the first 80% to 90% of the line is the first zone. This is the first zone. Right? This is the first zone. The second zone of this relay, extend are composed of the last 20% of this section, the last 20%, and extend up to 50% of the next section. Here. the second zone consists of the last 20% extended up to 50% of the adjacent line. This is adjacent line, which is explained here, adjacent, right? Okay. Now the third zone of this relay, I am particularly pointing this relay at the moment. Of this relay, composed of the last 50% of this extended up to 25% of the next line, right? So once again, see here, first zone extended up to 90 to 80%. The second zone composed of last 20% extended up to 50% of the next transmission line, and the third zone consists of the last 50% of this and extended to 5% of the third adjacent line. Now the tripping timing, all these timing are adjustable timing, right? All these timing are adjustable. Let's say, for example, the fault occur in the first zone here in the first 80 to 90%. Then the tripping of this relay will be instantaneous. No delay will be there. No delay, and the operation will be there, right? So it is instantaneous tripping there. If the fault occur in the last 20% of this own line, then of course the tripping at this location would be from 0.3 to 0.5 seconds. Now this operating time is extended to the next line. Let's say, for example, the fault occur here, right? You see your cursor. Yeah. Let's see your cursor in this area, 50% area of the next adjacent line. Now, gentlemen, you see here, as we have performed zoning for this relay, the same zoning can be performed for this relay. This one. This relay. So if the fault occur in this 50% of this, right? So it comes into the first zone of this relay. So naturally it will be cleared instantaneously by this relay, right? But if it fails to clear this fault, then this relay will clear this fault. This relay will clear this fault in the second zone after a time delay of 0.3 to 0.5 seconds. Understand my point? Okay. If the fault occur in the, let's say, third zone, naturally, since it has a zoning of 80 to 90% of the first section, this relay has also a zoning of 80 to 90% of the first section for its zone number 1. It is also its own zoning, zone number 1, zone number 2, and zone number 3, and similarly other relay also similar zoning, right? So let's say, for example, fault occur here in the last 20% of this, right? So naturally this fault will be cleared by this relay in the second zone, but if it fails to clear this fault in the second zone, this relay will clear this fault in the third zone, right? So similarly we have a third zone extended up to the last 25% of this. So these type of zoning are normally performed. Gentlemen, you study these zoning of this relays, you might have some question, or you must have some question about these, because this seems to be a new topic for you. You have not gone through these type of things previously. These are all practical field things, and these zoning are normally performed. So whenever you have any question, you must have some question about this, then I explain all this point to you. Okay. Reactance relay. Now gentlemen, one drawback with the impedance relay is that the measurement cannot differentiate between a resistance and reactance. Therefore, to take it into the measurement of arc resistance, now if the fault is near the balance point, by measurement this arc resistance is put first zone fault into the put first zone fault into the second zone fault. This point is explained just with the previous see figure. See here. Let's say, for example, right if the fault occur very near to the let's say balance point. This is the balance point. The first zone mark is the balance point, right? So if a fault occur here, normally the fault is associated with a long arc, and this arc is not a complex impedance. It is not a direct reactance. It is a resistance. And this impedance relay does not differentiate between a resistance, reactance or complex impedance. If we have a resistance of 10 ohm, if we have a reactance of 10 ohm, or if we have an impedance of 10 ohm, it will give the same weightage to all these. So sometimes this first zone fault is put into the second zone because by measuring the resistance arc resistance, it measure that the fault is beyond the 90% or 80% of the line, and it just put their fault into, of course, into the second zone fault. So you see the second zone fault is cleared with a time delay, with a time delay of 0.3 second and 0.5 second. Now, gentlemen, since our system is a closed loop system, so always we have two end feedings. Always we have two end feeding. So, write this. Yeah. So let's say, for example, the fault occur either at the last 20% or very near to the, of course, this balance point, and the arc resistance is taken into account. Then, of course, that fault is put into the second zone, and the second zone fault is normally is clear in with some time delay. But one more point is to clear at this particular point, since when fault occur anywhere on the transmission line, since it is feeding from both sides, so both the relay on both sides of the fault should operate, then the fault will be cleared fully. Otherwise, if one relay operates or one circuit breaker is open on the one side and the second circuit breaker remain intact, then the fault will be not clear, it will be fed for the other point. So the relay on the right side of this will operate first because it will clear this fault in the first zone, and of course the first relay here that will clear this fault in the second zone with a time delay, and this time discrimination between the two relay is of course not needed. We want that both these relays should operate simultaneously, and this is perhaps the only drawback in the distance type of relays, that the end faults are cleared with a time delay, right? So therefore these type of impedance relay have been now uh, done by, when we have long transmission line, is done by, of course, carrier current protection or microwave protection is replacing in some area, not in all area, in some area they are replacing the distance group of relays, right? You note this point. If you have any further point, I'll explain that point there. Okay. Therefore, to take it into measurement, the arc resistance. Now, if the fault is near the balance point, by measuring this arc resistance, is put first zone fault into the second zone. I explained this point already. Fault resistance varies with fault current and length of arc. According to A.R. Van Warenten, is author of so many books on protection system, Van Warenten, very good books from Van Warenten. According to him, he has an empirical formula of this type, that arc resistance R is 8750 L divided by I raised to power 1 by 4, where L is length of arc in feet and I current in ampere. So this is how it is. Sometime you can measure the arc resistance. Okay, so this relay was developed with the object of reducing the effect of fault uh, it should be fault resistance. Yes. Yeah. Now this relay was developed with the object of reducing the effect of fault resistance at ballast point. Right. Okay. It consists of a reactance element. Naturally, reactance element. I'll explain this reactance element. A starting or fault detecting element and directional element. For relay to operate, so gentlemen, as you've seen, in case of simple impedance relay, that we have two electromagnet. One is fed from the current source and one is fed from the voltage source. Here we have the same type of arrangement. We have the same type of arrangement. On one side of this, we have the current coil, which is actually actuated from the current, that is from the CT, the system current, and it provides the operating torque. The other side of this is actuated from two sources, voltage source and current source. Two sources are used. Two sources are used. Rather than one source, within one source, two sources are used. And these two sources, that is voltage source and current source, provide the necessary restraining force. So the relay will operate only when the operating torque Kii square is greater than Vi sin phi, right? So Ki is of course greater than K, which is conversion constant, is greater than Vi sin phi, and V sin phi is of course reactance of the system. So if the reactance is less than Ki, the relay will operate, otherwise it will not operate. So this type of relay will only respond to the reactance of the system, to the reactance of the system, not to the resistance or complex impedance of this. It totally ignores the resistance. And you see, gentlemen, our whole power system is basically a reactive elements. All you see in the power system engineering course, which you have studied in the previous semester, you see we have totally omitted the effect of resistance, although resistance is there, but its effect is very much less in comparison with the reactance. Now, gentlemen, these two or three points are important to note. The reactance element alone is not sufficient to show the presence of a fault. Okay. So now that if, for normal condition, uh, reactance may be below the relay setting in case of good power factor load. To prevent the false tripping under such condition, the reactance element must be supervised by a fault detecting relay, overcurrent relay. Furthermore, a directional element is required for preventing tripping by an external fault behind the relay. Now, gentlemen, we have drawn the characteristic of the impedance relay you have seen. Since the impedance relay measured all attributes of impedance, that is simple resistance, simple or reactance, or a combination of resistance and reactance. So it form almost a circle. uh, about the origin. But since these relays are responsive only to the reactance of the system, so naturally their characteristics can be straight line on the reactive axis of this impedance or Rx diagram. So the first zone X1 is the first zone reactance, X2 is the second zone reactance, and zone 3 is the third zone reactance. Now this characteristic is being shown of the reactance element without directional element. Without directional element. If we use a directional element along with this, then of course it will have a circle passing through origin in the forward direction. I'll explain this point to you when I have interaction with you by sharing the board with you, right? So characteristics of three zone reactance relay are shown like this. So gentlemen, you study these, note all your points because very important group of relays, very interesting also. So of course we will clear all your point there. Thank you very much.